I just want to give you a bit of an insight into the AFL Enjoyers team. We're a bunch of unique individuals, Matsa, Sfenda, and Dean. We're going to engage with our minds and our hearts. We're going to exchange ideas, thoughts, and even our energy. And to speak from your heart, you need to have courage. You need to be honest and authentic. We're not always going to get it right, and sometimes you're not going to agree with us. But that's okay, because just like you, we care. Just like you, we're passionate about the game. So if you want to come along for the ride, join us at the AFL Enjoyers podcast, because we really enjoy the footy. Hello and welcome back to the AFL Enjoyers podcast. My name is Dean. I'm joined again by the boys, fellow enjoyers of the AFL, James Matsa and George Sfenda. How's it going, boys?
How's it going, Dean?
I've been better, George. Thank you.
So have I.
That's all three of us really. What's going on, mate?
Yeah, we've all got reasons to be a bit upset this week, don't we, boys? Our teams, in more ways than one, in North's case, I guess, causing a bit of distress. So George, obviously the Blues.
The Blues have got no idea, mate.
Yeah, they've got no idea.
It's a little bit of a mess. I just want to say apologies in advance, probably for my lack of footy knowledge for the week, just because I was in Tassie trying to negotiate the stadium, trying to push it through. They're playing, hard bargain, the Tassie peeps. But no, let's get the stadium happening, man. Let's go.
See, man, they wanted their own team, and now we've given it to them.
Yeah, I gave them a name, Tassie Thunder. Like it's ready to go, man. But got the franchise ready, but all good.
Thanks for doing God's work down there, mate.
Yeah, we can only do what we can do, man.
Someone has to do it. I thought this week, boys, given the bit of the controversy with the Clarko situation, I thought before we even get into the games, specifically because when we get to the North game, I think there's enough to talk about without touching on that stuff then. So, look, honestly, I don't have much to say when it comes to speculation, what happened, all that sort of stuff. But I want your guys' take on how it's sort of been handled. Obviously, everything you read is like, how has it gotten to this point and nothing's happened? Like, no movement, no one's allowed to speak and say and speak their mind. I don't know if you heard Dr. Sonia Hood, North Melbourne's president, I believe she is. She went in pretty hard on the Hawks specifically because apparently their involvement in all of this, in relaying information, maybe preparing North for what's to come, was non-existent. So they knew a lot more information before it became more public or whatever has become public. So I don't know. Matsa, how are you feeling as a North fan, I guess, regardless of what's going on?
Yeah, honestly, it's tough to see. And I think my first thought was I saw it and I'm like, it's going to be okay because Clarko will come back. But it hurts to see a guy who, he's seeing him go through this sort of stuff, on a public level, and it happens to be our coach, which makes it even worse. It's pretty disappointing that the AFL hasn't pushed this investigation and try to get it done and allow. Look, you got to give the guy the chance to speak.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. That was a voice crack there. I personally, when I saw that, I just woke up, I saw the statement, Clarko's not going to be coaching indefinitely. I was just like, man, are you kidding me? How has it gotten to this point where my club again has a coach leaving? Again, we have an interim coach.
Yeah.
Credit to Radden for stepping up, by the way, friend of the pod. But
at least you've got an experienced coach to take over, though.
At least we do. But man, how has it happened again? Obviously, we had Lee Adams stepping in last year. We had David Noble was there not a long time. Then we had Reece Shaw's situation. Just the coaches alone, let alone everything else that's gone on.
It's 4 in 17 rounds.
I know.
Something crazy like that. Like the stats.
And then we had Sonia Hood recovering from cancer as well, our president. We've had the Jason Ward-Francis situation, which seems small on the scale of all of this other stuff.
Yeah. But that one's borderline a positive at this point.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Yeah, we'll talk about that. But
we will.
It just seems like this club can't catch a break. It's one of those things where when you're down, you're down. Like nothing can go right. Obviously, we'll talk about the game as well later. But yeah, for me, what's your take on it all, George? How are you, as an outsider, maybe without the North emotion?
I don't know much about it, to be honest with you. But you're right. They did have that cloud around the scandal before Clarkson actually got the job. So it seemed like maybe it wasn't going to be that big of a deal. But yeah, to have the interruption in the middle of the season really hurts you guys. So
yeah, I can't remember who I saw or what I read rather, but an ex-Hawthorn player, I think he's in the media. It might have been Jordan Lewis, but I'm not going to say that as a fact. But there was a story that Clarko, he's gone to fuel up at some servo and they refused to serve him because assuming he's a racist and didn't want to deal with him. So things like that.
That's crazy.
That's
man.
probably just one of many examples of how he's been treated in his personal life, like outside the footy world.
Yeah.
People just assuming because he hasn't had the chance to defend himself. So for me, whatever happened, we don't know. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about that. But if the man's getting treated so poorly and in his mind wrongly, that's hard.
It's like when they say someone's cancelled.
Yeah,
That type of
basically.
thing. And that's rough to see. That's tough to see in the footy world because we don't know what's really going on. So, but yeah. Anyway.
100%. Anyway, look, we'll move on to the actual footy, but I guess, I hope it all gets resolved. We get our coach back, things go back to normal.
Yeah.
Do you think that you're going to get him back, or are you scared that it might be the end?
I think we're getting him back.
Sonia Hood spoke on the radio saying she'll be, like, you can never rule it out, but she'll be shocked if he never coaches again, and should be sooner rather than later, hopefully.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I said as well. We'll see.
Fair enough. Yeah, just thought we should have to touch on that, obviously.
Yeah, it's huge news in the AFL world this week, so yeah.
Absolutely. Look, I guess on to more positive things. Let's talk about that Friday night game. I'm going to hand it over to George because this guy, he spoke up Butters on the pod last time. Mate.
Man likes his Butters, man.
Mate, I said that this guy's one of my favourite players.
You did.
And he performed. But I actually think that he's the most informed player in the comp at the moment. And you know what?
man.
The coaches' votes are going to back that up because I think he's gone back to back to back. He's going to get another 10 votes now. The guy's probably in Brownlow contention.
Well, you know what? Funny you mentioned that because the 9 things we learned on the AFL app actually says the number 1, Zach Butters can win a Brownlow.
There you go.
So it's not just yourself that's on the Zach
It's
Butters
the
range.
legendary Damien Barrett.
Was it? I don't know who wrote that actually, but
Does he not do that? Or he does the preview one?
he does the other ones.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he does. I think he does them all. I don't know.
But I'll
Friend
tell
of
you
the
what,
pod.
yeah, he
What a performance, mate. That was one of the best individual games I've seen in a very long time.
Mm.
He didn't. I don't think he made a mistake. And he's up against 2 Bulls in the midfield. Like, he's up against Melbourne in the wet.
that's what I was going
And
to mention.
it's not just like a little bit of rain. It's sideways rain. And the other thing is, when Port play, so Port are obviously a very skilled team because when they were up against Western Bulldogs in the wet, I think round 3 or round 4, whenever it was, they also destroyed them in the last quarter. Super clean. Butters the same. Rosie the same.
Mm-hmm.
So they've backed it up twice in really terrible conditions and played really strong football. So they're just very skilled players.
Yeah.
And I was having a look at this, and I think we had a little bit of chat, Dino, last night about a potential win-win situation with North and Port, because you can understand if Port have Butters and Rosie, who are young superstars, right? That's just what they are. They can sell the farm for another young player like Horn Francis, so that they have 3 like generational midfielders for the next 10 years. And you saw like Butters was exceptional, right? 41 disposals. I think the 7th player in their history to get 40 possessions. So like in a tight-knit group. But Rosie was fantastic as well. Mm-hmm. And Horn Francis too, he has his moments like that one-handed pickup handball that he gave to Rosie to kick that goal in the wet was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I've said it many times with Port, they have the young stars to carry this team forward. You put Willem Drew in there, he's not like a superstar, but he's handy. Ollie Wines is a Brownlow medalist. That's a really, really strong team, man.
Yeah, well, they can't all be superstars. Like, you need your Willem Drew type players who can go there and just, do the grunt work, But then when you got as you said, the class of Rosie and Butters.
He was just exceptional, mate. I think when I was a kid and all throughout my adult life, right, people ask me, what do I want to be when I grow up? I want to be Butters when I grow up. I want to be Zach Butters, mate.
Why?
Fair enough, man.
Explain further.
I just see myself in him, man. He kind of looks like me, does he not?
A little bit, yeah. Nah,
same build, both good at footy.
That's it, man.
Both the same guy.
Both
basically.
chess players' bodies, man.
Yeah, no, it was just a special performance, mate. And like up against a tough team, they like Port. They're a top 4 team. They just have to be considered top 4 team.
Yeah, well, you know how I've been invested in the first round pick that Port owes us this year. I'll tell you what.
Forget about it.
I'm at that point now where I'm thinking, you know what?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it is. The best players aren't always chosen in order. Hopefully we can pick the right kid because we're not getting a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
That dream's gone now, dead in the water.
Yeah, for sure.
I did want to mention as well, all of this impressive performance, like midfield aside, Charlie Dixon wasn't playing. And he makes a big impact.
Todd Marshall wasn't playing either.
Correct.
So they didn't have their tools. And there was, who's the other one as well? There's another, Georgiades.
Yeah, right.
So like kind of a makeshift. We use that word makeshift forward line. Still worked.
Oh Lord would have been.
Oh Lord,
he was playing, but maybe it suited them better because it was raining, so you don't really need tools. So it sort of was in that circumstance, it worked out.
You're right, because it was a very midfield kind of clearance based performance, and Petrarca and Oliver had their dominance in quarter 3, brought it back. It was a tight game, but yeah, just an amazing their ability. I say there. Butters and Rosie especially, their ability to just be clean through the midfield was exceptional, really.
Absolutely. Did you guys see it near the end of the game? One of the I think it was the Melbourne player, slid in. It was obviously raining, as we've said, and he did like a soccer style studs up slide. I'll tell you what, if that was in soccer, that's a red card, mate. Like it was an absolute hack. He almost he could have broken his legs if he caught him more cleanly. It was actually, like, jokes aside, anyone that saw that,
that's one of the best parts of with the footy, though. You get away with whatever you want.
Yeah, bad. Oh, it was unreal. And actually, I did want to touch on, you mentioned Horn Francis, and we'll talk a bit more later in more detail, but I actually want to say, officially declare on the podcast, I'm over it.
He's done.
Yeah.
In the sense of, I'm never going to like the guy, don't get me wrong, but
you can segue into the next game.
Actually, it is the next game.
Yeah,
you know
let's
what?
segue into it, man.
I forgot it was the next game.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say this. We've got Wardlaw and we've got Sheasel. And I'll tell you what, I was there at the game. We'll talk about my emotion of it all in a moment. But the overwhelming emotion, despite what happened, is, man, those two boys. I've never been more excited about two prospects in my whole time supporting North. And I can convince myself of anyone. But Wardlaw's courage, his ferocity on the ball, his tackling, his first step. He'll tackle someone and then just bounce up like a pogo stick and tackle the next guy. Sheasel, mate, he's been playing half back all year, drafted as a forward. And we're thinking at some point, this kid's going to go forward. He went forward. He snucks in 2 goals.
Played in the guts as well, too.
Played in the guts as well. He could have had more goals, to be fair. He could have actually iced the game towards the end, but missed a set shot. But wherever he plays, this kid is just absolute class. Wardlaw was insane. Simpkin played a great game. I'll touch on some more later, but I just wanted to say, Horn, Francis, mate, no hard feelings. Hope you're enjoying SA. We're happy. We'll get another player this year as well. Yeah, all good, mate. I won't talk shit about you anymore.
Yeah, no, well said, man. Well said. Because Wardlaw is very similar, like player-wise, it's very similar to Horn Francis. It's just a very agile, strong player. And he's got a bit of class to him as well. Like, there was the moment where he picks up the ball out of a contest in the forward 50, sort of dances around a player, keeps the ball in, like, one of those sort of holds the ball in like that, and then he hits a target and led to a goal. Man, not many players can do that. That's like a top 5-10 player, in the competition type play. So for him to be doing that, plus from this deal, obviously, we're able to get him and Sheasel in the same draft. It just, feels good, man. Feels really good.
Well, that's kind of the parallel to Port is interesting, because in one draft they got Rosie, Butters and Dersma. Correct. And they've set them up. You guys are potentially set up in your midfield just off one draft now.
Yeah.
So if you nail a couple of really great players, you build your whole team around them. So
100%, man. And when you factor in LDUs there still, obviously, Simpkin, in my opinion,
he had a great game.
He had a great game.
Great game.
Our whole midfield, by the way, Sydney couldn't get a clearance. And we're talking Chad Warner, Goulden, Parker.
Yeah.
Some of them played okay individually, but as a collective midfield group, we smashed them, which was great to see. We still got LDU. Simpkin, I don't want to see as the lead head mid, but if he's like the third or fourth guy in there, we're going to be well set up. Mackay and Logue did their thing. Lots of big spoils. For the most part, pretty strong. CJ was great. Backed up his form in the VFL with really
9 goals in the VFL, and he brought that confidence with him.
He was creating a contest, and so often, because we're not that good of a team, obviously we just bomb the ball long, and he was actually clunking a few. Thank goodness, and it allows us to progress up the pitch and actually put a bit of forward pressure. And Sydney at times couldn't get the ball out of their defence. I honestly was really proud of the performance, and obviously we'll get to what happened at the end. I did just want to touch on Sydney, though, before we talk about the ending. I'll tell you what, mate, these guys are in trouble this year. With their injuries, and the confidence is shot. They were bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously a bit of a tragedy what happened to you guys, but from a Sydney perspective, it's like a saving grace, because they shouldn't have won that game. And if they didn't, season's over. Like, that is such a critical win for them. It's almost unbelievable. You can't be dropping a game to North if you think of yourself as a finals contender.
Mm-hmm.
And Buddy was interviewed after the game, and he was just like, "No, we just had to win. No, we just had to win." Like, who knows what would have happened to him if they lost that? So, sucks if you're a North fan, especially the way it happened, which we'll talk about now. But from a Sydney perspective, like that, like they got so lucky.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think if they had lost that game, Longmire's job is not looking safe. Losing to North, let's
Maybe.
be fair. But like, look, yeah, it works out in the end for him. He's increased his job security a little bit, but yeah, it would have looked really bad on him.
Well, just a little insight as well as to the desperation that Sydney had. Obviously, in the contest, they weren't weak in the contest by any means, but I really noticed that every time they scored a goal, the whole team, it's like someone scored their first goal. The whole team was gathering around that guy. They were trying absolutely everything to energize each other. I thought in the beginning it was maybe the Indigenous players for Indigenous round. They were getting around Buddy. Buddy's had a tough couple of weeks. I thought it was that, but actually anyone that was scoring, they were getting around him. And I thought, you know what? These guys are scared. Like, obviously, maybe not of North specifically, but just their situation. So I found that very interesting. And then let's talk a bit about the end of the game because, being there in the stands, I'll tell you what, I've never experienced a more strange ending in my life. More strange feeling even than a draw, to be honest. Like, we're up 2 goals. Sheasel has a set shot, about 40 out, slide ankle. Unfortunately, misses it. I think that would have killed the game off.
Yeah. That the one where we hit the post?
Slightly after that. So the post one was pretty tight on the angle.
Yeah,
fair
that was
enough,
tough.
But
Yeah.
the other one was a bit more dead on. He could have iced the game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, didn't.
Mm.
And I was saying, look, the next goal's crucial. Obviously, 2-goal game. If we get it, it's over. If they get it, if there's time, they might win. Lo and behold, they go the other way, score a goal. I'm thinking, okay, I wasn't confident, to be honest. How could I be with North holding a lead? And as you do when you're at the footy, you're talking people around you, how much time's left? 3 minutes, 2 minutes. We're getting to that point. They're peppering our 50. I'm thinking, geez, something's going to happen. And then they get that free kick in front of the goals. And from the crowd perspective, honestly, all that we saw was our player should have been paid a free kick for high tackle. I don't think it would have mattered anyway because there would have been a stoppage. Umpire put his hand to his ear. It felt like a good 30-second wait. Maybe it wasn't that long, but it just seemed like an eternity of like, what's going on? Something's wrong here. It wasn't a blood rule. They called that pretty instantly. I'm thinking, what the hell's going on? And then lo and behold, he just blows the whistle, gives the ball to McLean and walks him to the front of the goal. And we've lost our minds, obviously.
But you didn't know what
No idea.
No idea.
No idea until after the goal's gone in, probably the time it takes to carry the ball to the middle of the ground. I think by the time the ball was balled up again, someone had said interchange cap or something like that. And I'm thinking, I'm just trying to search my brain for what the rule even is because it never gets called. And I'm thinking, oh my God, we've been robbed.
I don't think it's been called ever.
Yeah, maybe it never has. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, there's 40 seconds to go. I did want to mention this though. Sorry to just talk a lot, but
Yeah, no, do your thing, man.
I want to just have a dig here at the umpires just a little bit. Not the one that called that because if that's the rule, is what it is. But centre square bounces happen. Another stoppage happened immediately after. I don't know this ruck infringement rule, boys, but Todd Goldstein has literally just fended off in the chest their ruckman.
I saw that one.
Did you see that?
It was bullshit.
He's fended
Yeah.
off the ruckman and then whacked it forward, and Simpkin is off, running into an open 50 with 30 seconds to go. We may or may not win the game, but he's called a ruck infringement, which goes to my greater point. The umpiring in this league, I'm sorry, boys, it is absolutely crap. Like, the rucks never. Have you noticed every time there's a ruck infringement free kick? I
No
would
one
say
knows. No one knows
80% of the
what's going
time, the rucks don't know who it's for.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
They all just kind of wait there and go,
Is
okay.
it me? Is it you?
Yeah, and then the team starts running away when they actually call it. Then the team will
100%.
start running and getting their structures right.
And that's just one of many examples of players can get the ball. And I'll say this both ways. It went for and against North's favour the other day, and in every other game. Players are getting the ball, getting tackled, not disposing of it, and we're just playing on. I'm sorry. Like, when did that change? You got to kick or handball the ball, don't you? Unless it's really like you've just picked it up.
I think you can be knocked out. I don't know.
Mate, most of the time it's not.
It's impossible to accurately judge this game. It's just too difficult. As supporters, we watch every game and we can't work out what's happening.
It's weird.
Yeah, I don't like, just like yourself, I don't like free kicks having big impacts on the game. Unless it's like a really obvious one, you've knocked their head off or something like that. Just the small free kicks that just change the momentum are the most annoying thing in the world.
Yeah.
There was a couple of ones in the Carlton game today where just high tackles when they're not high and there's 3 people over them tackling. Don't pay it.
Yeah.
Don't pay it if it's a little bit. Pay it only if it's massive.
And that goes to my ending point on that, which is media and everyone else likes to say it's the hardest game in the world to umpire. Probably is. But here's the solution to that. Stop trying so hard. Like you said,
I agree.
call the obvious ones. Try not to give ones that lead to goals if you can avoid it. And just let them play. Let the ruckman do their ruck. If someone gets held around their waist or pushed very obviously in the back, or like the standard stuff, I think they're overdoing it. But
the problem comes when, player safety is involved, concussion,
correct.
These type of things. The AFL has to do what they can to show that they're preventing this from happening.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the legal aspect of it as well. So you can kind of understand how they want to make the game as safe as possible.
Yeah.
And by doing that, there's a million rules. But yeah, it's hard.
100%. Overall, though, I must say, as a North fan, crappy week, ended in a weird way. But when you sit and reflect on it, I think finally we saw what we're sort of trying to build towards. So for me, that sits pretty nicely.
Yeah, like for me, after the initial throwing stuff in my hotel room, after that game, you feel good about it. Really, it's just like, okay, that's we just lost to a team that is way ahead of us in regards to development. Like they should be primed for finals contention now. We're primed for finals contention. Like what, in 2 years,
Maybe,
3 years,
yeah.
4 years? Like so yeah. Anyway, all good. I think that's enough North talk.
Yeah.
I reckon. We'll,
Bit of North talk, bit of umpire complaining.
Yeah,
It's
no.
Sfenda Deano.
exactly.
Weekly.
No, that's it.
Cool. Well, let's talk Dogs Crows, because I'll tell you what, the Crows away from Adelaide Oval are just a nightmare at the
You're
moment.
gonna have to explain this one to me because I have very little context of what happened.
I'll explain to you. Lead
Done.
versus the world, mate. That's it.
Oof. That's all
Lead
you need to
versus the
know.
world.
Is that flowers for lead, is it?
We can always give flowers to
Oh,
Lead,
fair
mate.
enough.
He's
That's
the
good.
best.
That's good. There we go. We haven't given much flowers today, so let's do it, man.
What was Lead's heat map like, Dino?
If
I
you're
think
curious,
it represents like the rest of his team's performance pretty much.
Yeah.
It was just like that.
maybe just check out the AFL app heat map on lead and you'll get the joke.
Shout out to
well,
Lady for that one. That was good, man.
I've got to be honest, I
Bravo.
was obviously at the North game, so I didn't watch this one. But
Yeah.
but what I can see, the Crows, when they're at home, are capable of just running over teams, and away, they're clearly not. So
The Dogs were just too strong in the midfield. They just got too many avenues now. They've won like 7 of their last 8 games or something like that. They're in really good form. And their team's just starting to connect and work well together. They put Bailey Smith back on the ball. They just got a lot of options in the midfield. And they're just working well. So
Yeah. Well, they are 6th right now. And so they're 6th on 28 points. St Kilda, Melbourne also on 28 points. Then on 2nd and 3rd are only one win ahead
that's right.
of them. They're very, very much in form.
yeah, and I'm just reading again the 9 things we learnt, talking about the Dogs' surge and their win streak, as you mentioned, George, being down to their defense. And obviously, we know how good they are on ball, and their attack has some weapons all around. But specifically, they've shouted out here Liam Jones, Ed
Georgie's
Richards.
boy.
Georgie's boy, Ed Richards. And then
No, I met Liam Jones. But
Ed Richards. Is
and
his
also
boy as
Ed
well.
Richards, yeah. No.
And Johannes, they're all my boys.
They're all his boys.
They're all your boys.
Oh,
So Johannison got injured with the hammy, though.
Unfortunately.
Disappointing.
But yeah, mention their tackling as well. So last year, 56 per game, ranked 14th. And now they're ranked 6th with 61 tackles per game. So they're going both ways at it.
Yeah, I think Bont's leading from the front. Liam Jones was a great pickup for them. They got him for nothing. He's an all-Australian type defender.
Yeah.
That they just got for free. And they were lacking that. So they just got the pieces are coming together. Tim English is dominating. Their forwards are starting to jump at the ball a bit more. I think we had predicted they'd have a pretty strong season, and after the first 2 games they looked terrible. But since then, since they beat the Lions unexpectedly, they've just been super strong.
Yeah. Credit to them. And like you said, they've got the weapons to maintain it and play finals. So
They were wasteful in front of goal as well. I think they kicked a lot of points, so it could have been even bigger.
yeah, absolutely. And where do the Crows go? I mean, we sort of have been really big fans of them all year, and for good reason. I guess their concern now is they're finding themselves in final contention, and obviously they'll have that ambition to play finals. But tell you what, you can't be stinking it up that bad away from home and just relying on your home games. It's not going to get you far.
I was going to say, speaking of how much we rate the Crows, we tipped them.
There you go.
They disappointed us. So
Badly.
Yeah. So the other 2 tips were Sydney, which we got right, and then Melbourne, which we got wrong. So it's a tough week for tipping, man.
It was a strange one. We'll get to the next game as well in a moment. But do you guys think Crows can hold their final spot? Do you think there's enough, or maybe they're just a year too
Where are they
early?
sitting at the moment, Matsa?
I can check that for you. Hang on, because I've got the app
Are they
open.
8th or 9th?
I got you, man. They're 8th.
They're 8th.
I got in there, Data, before you.
I think they can because they can play some pretty strong football. The other thing to note, like they rested Taylor Walker. I mean, that's not going to help.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
But I don't think that was the reason they lost. But yeah, they've been a bit inconsistent.
Mm.
They've had some really strong performances. They've had some weak ones. I think they've struggled against, the really good teams.
Yeah.
They might be a bit of a team where they're in their progression now where they're going to beat up on some weaker teams, but still struggle to really take it to the next level. It's still a progression in their team, but
yeah,
we'll see how they go.
I think we'll see what they're made of. We'll do our tips later, but this week, Adelaide Oval against the Lions. That's a big game for them.
Yeah, that is.
See what they're really made of at home against a really good team.
Mm.
Interesting. Okay. Speaking of unpredictable week for tipping, Matsa, Freo beat the Cats. And I know George, it's the week of George being right. Everything he said last week turned to gold. I'll tell you what, Freo just were too good for the Cats, which I didn't think I'd be saying this year.
They're another team that's got their mojo back finally. They're actually playing pretty good football. We had taken the absolute piece out of their ball movement at the start of the season.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It was funny.
It's almost like the backman had a bet to see how many possessions they could get. Now that the bets are off, they decided to try kick a goal. And they're moving the ball like they were last year. Last year, they were quite a ferocious team. One year, it feels like a long time ago, but they actually had a bit of power and they really moved the ball with some intensity and beat up on some teams. And they're doing that again now, finally. I think a big part of that is Brayshaw. He was clearly injured because the way he's playing now is making a massive difference to their team. So that, Sean Darcy's dominating the ruck. Their midfield's got their power back. They're moving the ball with more intensity. You can see there's even like passages where it's a bit more Richmond-like, where they're just like slapping the ball forward and just trying to get it in. And if you do that and you get the ball faster into the forward line, then your forward's got a chance, even if they're not the most superstar forward line. You know what I mean? So, and 3 weeks in a row now, 100-plus points. So that speaks to their attacking game style.
I was just going to say that. And speaking of their forward line, I know they're not maybe household names yet, but they've gone with 3 talls lately: Jai Amiss, Josh Treacy, and Luke Jackson. So for those 3, I mean, Freo hasn't had some tall timber actually performing in years. I can't even remember. Maybe since Pavlich, to be honest. And when Sandilands would rest there. So George's boy Sandy.
That's it.
So to have 3 guys there, Jai Amiss kicked a clutch goal as well in the last quarter.
He's starting to play, he's coming along nicely.
He is. The Undertaker himself.
The Undertaker himself. We need some sleep like I do right now. The thing is, we always saw it with Jai Amiss. It was that goal against us where he manhandled, who was the guy?
Aiden Core.
Josh Walker. Josh Walker.
Sorry,
he manhandled Josh Walker as a rookie player and, kicked the goal. So there's something there with Jai Amiss.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's going on with the Cats, though? I mean, they've lost 2 in a row now.
Not one player got more than 20 possessions for Geelong.
Generally, they don't have mids that rack up the ball too much most of the time lately. I mean, Guthrie was for a few years, Dangerfield obviously, but
both Guthrie and Dangerfield weren't playing.
Correct. Now, I was just going to mention, is this on their injuries? I'm just looking at their team. The big boys are still there. You've still got Hawkins, Cameron, Isaac Smith's in there, Tom Stewart. A lot of their experienced players are still there. So what's going on with this 2-loss streak to a pretty poor Richmond team and a Freo team who's, resurgent, but you're the reigning premiers. You're in good form previously to the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm looking at their outs. It's Dangerfield, Sam De Koning, who's a big one. Jack Henry, solid player. Ollie Henry, Gary Rowan, he's pretty important to their structure forward, like in the forward line, because he puts pressure and he leads up the ground as well. Reece Stanley as well. He's better than Segler at least. And he's a bit more versatile. Whereas Segler's just a tap ruckman, and he's always a 50-50 style ruckman. He's not like a player whole game ruckman. He was, McAvoy's foil.
He's a big body.
He's a big body, but I think it's that's probably their
There are a couple of big outs, man. They're all of those players are straight best 22.
Yeah, especially obviously Dangerfield and De Koning. De Koning
is Stengel injured?
Actually, Stengel as well.
Yeah,
Stengel as well.
That's the answer, man.
Yeah, that must be it.
Nothing taken away from Freo because they're obviously playing better football. But I think you put 10 of those players back in the team.
Yeah. Well, you can't replace Stengel and Gary Rowan with Dempsey and Sam Simpson. Yeah. Let's be fair. It's completely different type of players. And
I'm not and Knevet.
And Knevet, that's it.
I'm not one to write off Geelong. I mean, we know what they're capable of, but just in terms of the 8 picture, though, they've probably got top 4 ambitions. We would agree. They're currently now 2 wins from top 4, and there's a bit of a gap now between 6th and 7th. So they're 7th on 20 points. The Doggies are tied on 28th with a few teams on 28. So there's a 2-win gap there to even get near the top 4. So
yeah, I was looking at that earlier, and I actually think so. The top 6 teams are in one bracket, we'll say.
yes,
But I think Geelong is a pseudo part of that bracket because I see them as better than Crows, Essendon, Fremantle, and then Carlton, who are all similar points, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's just they need to get those guys back fit, and then they can, because at the end of the day, you need to get those wins on the board. Like we're talking about this in the Supercoach context earlier. You can have a perfect team for the finals, which is important, but if you don't get enough wins, you don't get to the finals.
Yeah.
So they need to start continuing to get those W's.
Fair enough. I think they'll get there.
I think they'll get. They won't play top. They won't be top 4, no way. But I think
that's big though in trying to win a premiership. That's all I'm trying to say. Like,
yeah, it is because then you got to show up for 4 games in a row.
I know.
I
That's
don't
tough.
think they're winning the flag this year. I can't see it.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say is like that would be their ambition as the reigning premiers. Like, you got to win. I reckon you got to make top 4 to win the premiership most years. Clearly,
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what
it
I would
was
say.
it was interesting that Cameron had his first 0-4. So 4 points.
The week I traded him in on draft. Thanks, Perry.
Yeah.
It's the first time he's made a mistake by foot ever.
I know.
So doesn't help the win.
Yeah, all good. Well, look, we'll move on to another top 4 team who I think is really hitting their stride is the Lions. Now, these guys sort of played with their food a bit in that game against the Suns, and then when the going got tough and things mattered in that last quarter, they just put the foot down and said, good
6
night.
in a row. Yeah.
6 in a row. Good night, Gold Coast. Thanks for the competitive game, but yeah, not enough in the bag, the Suns.
Yeah. Oh, look, the midfield for Brisbane just dominated. We've been talking up Rowell and Anderson the last couple of weeks, but this week, Dunkley, Neal, and Ashcroft had his best game.
McCluggage played his best game of the year as well.
Oh,
Yep.
there you go. Exactly, man. The Dino,
The price tag on his move to Victoria just going higher and higher.
That's it, man. That's it. Well, actually, you know what? Let's pick a team. Who would be the best fit for McCluggage if he was to go back to Victoria? Because he's not getting quite the same opportunity. Who needs a winger?
Well, the other thing about McCluggage is, yes, he's a winger, but I think he can play on the ball and should play on the ball more. He kind of reminds me a bit of Bailey Smith. Bailey Smith, we say him as a winger, but that's only because he doesn't have opportunity. You put him in there, he's a tough player. So I think McCluggage could... I think his weapons also suit being in the midfield as well, in a combination role. I wouldn't want him just as a pure winger.
I've got a suggestion, man. Essendon.
Yeah.
Essendon, who lack inside mids, and at the moment it's because of injury, but he takes Setterfield's CBAs. He takes probably Stringers and gives Stringer the chance to be more of a forward.
I reckon that's a good shout. Maybe even Richmond. They've done some work bringing in some midfielders already. I think they can use another
He'd
one.
suit Richmond, actually, because he's got a good kicking, good running power.
Yeah. I also would take him at North, obviously. I mean, we've got a pretty young midfield. He'd be a very experienced player. Our wingers, I mean, Bailey Scott, by the way, I trashed him last week, deservedly.
Yeah.
He responded, man. He responded.
He responded.
How many goals he kicked?
No goals.
7.
But he had over 30 touches. I think he had 800 plus meters gained. He was really good.
he was running.
I digress, but we could use another winger.
Yeah,
So-
fair enough. But we would use him more as a winger because we have enough inside mid. So I wouldn't want to get him if that's the idea. If he wants to play inside mid, it's not with us.
But yeah, wherever he goes, I guess the price tag is going up and up.
Might
with
just
the
be
game
might
like
just
that.
stay at Brisbane, but I don't know. I feel like we're willing him coming to Victoria into existence.
Come home.
It's one of us. We're really driving that narrative home. Anyway,
we are. I'll tell you what, tough for the Suns though. For the first time, they were actually in a game against Brisbane. Seems like it's been forever that they've given a competitive game, but
They're starting to play better football, but they're not going to beat Brisbane at home, right?
yeah,
Without Walla, without Miller, these really critical players. Even on their best day, they're not going to beat Brisbane. When you said when the going got tough, Brisbane decided to win, and that's it.
yeah. I did think they were a chance at one point though in the third quarter. It's about a 1-goal game. I thought, maybe, but they put the foot down, the Lions. So good on them. Firmly in the top 4 now, and then we move to the Dreamtime clash.
huge game that
Massive
I didn't
game.
watch.
Don's. What was that?
Huge game that I didn't watch.
That wasn't.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
Carry again, boys. Come on,
No.
Georgie. Give us more analysis. Come on.
The best part of that game was Dino and I were watching it. So Dino and I were at a Greek event Queen event last night. And, there was dancing going on, there's Greek music going on, and we were huddled behind a little phone on KO watching the final minutes of the game.
That's it.
And I don't know, we tipped Essendon. I kind of wanted Essendon to win. I don't know why, because I don't like Essendon. But for some reason, I was barracking for them. And there was a couple of other, some close mates of us that were also Essendon supporters. Right. And so...
Shout out to Zumi.
Yeah, shout out to Zumi.
Friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod. Definitely friend of the pod. That's not even a joke, that one.
Probably our biggest supporter. Yeah. But it was pretty cool seeing the stringer kick to Durham. Is it Durham?
Durham.
Let's go with that, yeah.
Sam Durham. Mark it and kick a goal with, 30 seconds left.
Durham.
Disappointing for the Tigers.
Yeah, that would sting. That would really sting. So they were starting to get into a bit of form as well, the Tigers, after a good win last week. Good on Essendon, mate.
There was a stat that I saw. I think the last 12 games that the Tigers have played, whether the final result has been decided by 6 or less points, they've lost all of them.
That's crazy.
They've drawn 3 and lost the rest. So the correct way to say is they haven't won any of their last 12 games that have decided by less than a goal.
So basically, they're Carlton.
So basically, they can't win it when it matters. And they were up, I think they had an 18 point lead.
Did you not take that trash? Did you not? That trash talk not registered?
You know what it did? It just bounced right off my shoulders.
It did, bro.
It bounced
Dean
off my
didn't even
shoulders.
notice. I'm like, jeez, that was a great comment with that. Nah,
how good was that frame, bro?
Can you rewind?
I'm annoyed.
You've got to rewind and repeat because I was reading an article for my next point.
Say what you were saying, Georgie. You were saying basically that what was it? Richmond haven't won a game in like the last 12 games within the goal or something, and then I say they're basically Carlton.
Oh, nice.
Thank you. Thank you. That deserved a reaction, man.
We need a live audience. You're not going to get a reaction from me.
I know,
like
man.
That.
Jeez.
I'm sure the audience...
I have to do my own reactions
I'm sure the audience laughed, Matsa. Don't worry. I was bringing up a point for my next start.
No, I'm not giving you that, mate. I'm not giving you that. I've had enough of the Blues. I'm not trash talking.
That's unfortunate. I'll pay more attention.
The Tigers, though, they're basically...
Dean, lock in Carlton.
Lock in,
Dean. Come on, mate.
Forgive me.
Come on, bro.
I'll lock in now. I'll bring a bit of information. How about that?
Let's go. I forgive you.
Just on the point about losing close games, I thought who better to bring up how to describe Richmond's performance than their head coach, Damien Hardwick, who absolutely went in on them in the post-game press conference. He called it a horrible game, diabolical is the word he used, saying they couldn't defend 140 odd uncontested marks. So Essendon's completely controlled the game, especially in like pretty dodgy weather. Getting all those uncontested marks, for me, just shows lack of effort, especially when he then goes on to say they knew that was going to be their plan. So to have no avenue of stopping that.
Well, they had a lead, Richmond. I think they got up to 18 points.
Yeah, but when you're not in control of the game, at some point, even if it's late, like it was in the game, your luck runs out, maybe. Obviously, they took territory and were able to capitalize when they did have the ball, but, Dimmer, he's not happy. Not a happy chappy this year.
Well, the other thing is Bombers are actually quite injured. Like, no Shield, who's been good this year and was good last year as well. No Parrish. Setterfield's not playing. 2 meter Peter's not playing. Like, you put those players in the team, it makes a big difference. So I know that Tigers don't have a Lynch, but they're just not that good anymore.
Yeah, their ball movement's poor. I think, Dimmer said as well, 36 turnovers in the front half. That's crap.
Which made me think, should we not take the wins against Geelong right now too seriously then?
Well, they were equally as injured last week, weren't they?
Geelong. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So maybe, I don't know, Richmond's win, not so important. Freo's win. I guess Freo is going to have to back it up now. They're going to have to show us that they're not like Richmond
and that's a good point on Freo. I mean, we're saying that they've been better lately, but let's get something straight here. The Swans have not been good this year. Case in point, what happened this week. And then they've beaten Geelong, who has shown that when there are a few men down, they're sort of ebbing and flowing this year. So time will tell how they go when they play a good team, but same with Richmond. I mean, we're giving them a bit of shit earlier in the year when they were playing poorly, and I was trying to make excuses for them playing in the wet, this, that. But I just think, it's hard to stay at the top for so long, clearly. They haven't been a great team the last few years. And I don't know who's coming up in their list. Samson Rhyme seems okay. They've still got some key pillars there, but Hardwick is saying that like Rewalt's barely playing, like he shouldn't be playing essentially. Like, he's injured. He he's just playing because they need him and they're needing bodies. So I think they're sort of definitely at the end.
They would have had to give picks for Taranto and Hopper, so they've given up.
They don't have their pick this year, I don't think.
They're still Taranto and Hopper are still within the right age group to carry forward. It's not like they've brought in 30-year-olds, so that's okay. But yeah, if they're sacrificing some development of younger kids,
and that's the thing. I mean, they're going to finish out of the 8 and not have a top 10 pick, not have a first round pick. So it's kind of tough on them. Hopefully, a few of their young guys continue to improve, and Taranto and Hopper deliver on all that investment. But yeah, they're sort of in that middle of the pack. Maybe can win each week. You can make a case for them, but more often than not, they're just falling short. So well done to the Bombers, though. Some flowers for the Bombers, staying in that game, getting that clutch goal. They kept their nerve.
flowers to Zach Merritt, mate.
Yeah.
The pig was back.
Thank
the pig
you.
was back.
Thank you. He saved my Supercoach team, so for trading him in. Thank you, bro.
There you go.
Really appreciate it, man.
I think, yeah, so long as they continue to improve and play within the structure of the Bombers, I think they're maybe not this year playing finals, but I think they can actually get excited moving into next year and beyond for the first time in a while. We know it's been a while since the Bombers have won a final, so cool.
Famously, yeah, they haven't won a final in a while.
Yeah, I've lost count. But
here's their chance, man. Let's do it. Let's do it, Bombers.
Let's do it. I'll tell you what, next game though, who saw this coming? Wow.
Yeah, that's it's unbelievable.
Hawks, Eagles, they're calling it the Harley Reid Cup. I like to think that North still has a chance at Harley Reid. I'd love him, but you're thinking, okay, there's two bad teams here. We know Hawthorn's better. We all sort of tipped them. We thought they'd win, but boy, that's crazy.
I was going to say, you mentioned you were talking about Harley Reid for a moment there. I remember I said at the start of the year, tank for Wemby, right? Like, I thought I'd just mention it that, my boys, the SA Spurs, we got Wemby. West Coast have to do the same, basically, because like they need some high level.
But they don't have to tank. They're just tanking. They're trying, and that just ends up being tanky. They're not doing that shit on purpose. They just suck.
Yeah. Nah, they're just bad.
They're just playing football that happens to be tanking.
Yeah, true.
Can I just say though, on that point, Matsa?
Yeah.
I was listening to Harley Reid. He was on the Gettable podcast show with Kaltumi and Riley Beveridge. Decent show, actually. Yeah. Enjoying that.
Did he say, I'm probably going to leave after the first year? Like,
well, you know what? He didn't say he's keen to move. So I'm reading between the lines. They asked him, because he's from the country Victoria, and they sort of said, how would you feel maybe if you had to move, mentioning West Coast, likely being thereabouts for the number one pick. And
he was like,
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, he didn't say, like, he said a lot about how he's a family man and he's got good roots and all this sort of stuff and he not once said, I'd love the opportunity anywhere, like that generic answer they give. So I'm thinking, you know what? If West Coast gets the number one pick and there's talk of a grand offer that might come in, I think they'd be more than any other year tempted to actually take it.
Okay.
Especially with what's going on with North and Horn Francis and all that stuff. So hope for North yet if we don't come last.
That's interesting.
Because we've got 2 first round picks. We got our pick next year. If we were to throw the farm at him, I'd actually do it, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
I think these type of teams like the West Coast, the Gold Coast, they do have to consider the likelihood of a player leaving. They just can't have blind faith that, we'll pick him, he's the best player. There has to be some strategy about keeping his... West Coast is a good... Like, they're a great club and they're a good culture. They've won a lot of flags since their inception. They're a good club, but at the moment they're a shamble. You'd probably back them in to find a way to get out of it in the next couple of years, but it is a consideration.
You really have to talk a player into the fact that if Harley Reid was to join him, he's linking up with Jimby. That could be one of the best midfield duos in the league. You know what I mean? That's what you're really trying to, you'd have to sell. But one thing I do want to say, we've been talking about the West Coast for a bit, and we're going to talk about them every week about how they're shit. Hawthorn, man.
Absolutely.
Can we talk about Hawthorn, please? Like, Weddle, that's one of the best games for a first-year player this year.
Yep.
Like
28 and 2 goals.
Yeah, from a half-back. Yeah. Exactly. We just, it needed to get mentioned. Sorry, boys. We'll go
100%. I was going to bring it up as well. Mitch Lewis, 6 goals. I know guys are kicking bags on West Coast every week, but this guy here, mate, he's one of the best marks in the league. You can see his physical transformation since he was drafted, getting a few games as a young kid. You look at him now, you're thinking, man, this is a big boy. He's got some power in his legs. He jumps at the ball. Potentially, maybe like a future Tomahawk if he keeps getting that bulk on. Like, he's just a bully, mate. He's unreal. Really enjoy watching him play.
Well, the Hawks actually looked incredible today. They were up against Witches' hats, but they looked incredible.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Fan footy little reference right there, the Witches' hats.
I don't get how a 16th place team beats an 18th place team by 116 points, though.
That might be the first time it's ever happened.
The disparity between West Coast and every other team is exceptional. Carlton won by 108. How do you win by 116 points?
Kept them to 26 points. Like their defense was just on lockdown.
But they were just like the ball transition was like they're the greatest Hawthorn team to ever exist. They just handball the whole way through. Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, even last year, they did have a few surprise results. Remember they beat Port over in Adelaide, and Port wasn't going well at the time, but they did show a few games last year, Hawthorn, where they can get on a roll. And
their game style is good. I think they're well coached, right? They just don't have the players yet. So because West Coast is not good enough to stop your system, if you've got a free-flowing type of game style, you can actually score really well. That's probably why they won so big.
Yeah.
Because that was like their best case scenario today. That is the best football that they can play because no one's trying to stop them.
Yeah.
I'd say part of that and why their defense is so strong is that Sicily actually said it himself that he's been able to play like not on the first forward or the second forward. He's playing a bit more loose, and that just means he can just intercept and do whatever he wants. And he uses the ball well as well. Like he's the one who's often at the base of those, those transition plays, setting up guys like Seamus Mitchell. One stage, Tyler Brockman, he was running through the He ran the length of the ground for one of the goals. It was insane.
Yeah, he's got some talent, Brockman.
Yeah, absolutely, man. As a winger, as a small forward, halfback even, I guess, in this case.
Yeah, he's doing it all at the moment. Can I make a bit of a bold claim now?
Yeah, of course you can, man. It's welcomed.
Is there a case that Connor Nash is the most talented Irish player that's played in the AFL?
There's no. Are you talking about ever? It's Jim Steins. Come on, let's not go there.
With the caveat that I never watched him play. Let's say yes, okay, those guys back then.
Look, I watched modern day. I'm being saying maybe it's because like a week or two ago I watched the video on YouTube about Jim Steins. Dude was a freak.
Fair enough.
You can't and I'm counting that dude on
YouTube.
There's
a book about him.
Yeah,
he's good.
Yeah, no, look, exactly. No, so we can't go there.
Let's go modern day in our lifetime.
Modern day, would you say he's better than Ty Kennelly? Yeah.
More talented, I reckon.
Yeah. Pierce Hanley? Yeah. McKenna? Yeah.
Well, you think
Zach Tui?
You think Connor Nash is better than Ty Kennelly?
More talent. I'm talking talent, like pure. Look at this guy, man. He's getting, for not the first time this year, 30 touches, 8 tackles. He's an animal. Low key, if he was on a better team.
Was Ty Kennelly that good? Now that I'm thinking about it?
Really? Surely there was another really good Irish player. Well, Zach Tui's pretty good.
It's still early and he's really showing up this year. If he keeps this up for the next 5, 6, 7 years, I reckon he will be known as the more modern day best Irishman in the league.
Yeah, mate, they've got like 2 bonts now, man. Connor Nash, tall mid. Will Dano's bont comparison, Yeah,
man, I think people don't talk enough about how talented he is being an international player. I'm just saying, you look at Mason Cox gets hyped up when he plays well, rightfully so. There's been quite a few players. But I'll tell you what, Connor Nash, he's really grown a lot this year. He's very important.
He's definitely improved. Like he's had some big games this year. Yeah. That's for sure.
And he's done his apprenticeship doing a bit of tagging work as well on good players. So man, how better to learn the game from the best midfielders in the comp. So
he's a great player. I just thought, shine a bit of a light on him, give him some flowers.
Flowers for Connor Nash.
There you go, man.
Give it to him, man.
Give it to him. And then, okay, George. Talk to us. Pies Blues. Now, I did say on the pod last week, Pies by 6 goals. And you said, oh, no, it'll be closer than that. What happened, mate?
Did I say that?
You did say that. I don't know why you were so confident that he'd be closer.
Well, because of the pressure that was on them, they just had to respond. And not even as a meme, they just had to.
They really did have to respond.
They had to, right? We all agree they had to respond. They had to come out and play tough football. If they're not good enough to win, fine. But, get close, make it a contest. It wasn't close or a contest. It was none of those things.
It was poor.
I was talking to a couple of Collingwood supporters last night, and they weren't that confident in Collingwood winning. They were being like humble and supportive, and I was like, "What's this?"
These dudes weren't Collingwood fans. They were in disguise for sure. Like
they also thought that Carlton was going to come out and give them a show, and they didn't. They did not. And there was an old lady, a nice old lady that was at this Greek event last night. Yeah, and she was from London.
She's from London.
Yeah, and they hadn't been in Australia for like 30 years, and they had come to see their team play Carlton. I was like, why? Why are you here?
What are you doing
They went
here?
to that game.
Oh my goodness.
They went to that game. They picked that game.
Dedication.
Mate, that honestly, shout out to them, flowers to them for making the big trip because it's the biggest rivalry. It'd be like me going to Liverpool Man United. You know what I mean? It's
But-
the biggest rivalry in our sport.
They're in London talking about
Yeah.
this great game AFL, the greatest rivalry of all time. We're going to go witness it at the Coliseum. 100,000 people. They're on the plane right now watching like Monsters Inc. or something like that.
And that would be that's a
Oh,
better
my
freaking viewing than
Yeah, much better.
than that game.
That's funny. Yeah, the Collingwood fans last night were actually surprisingly humble. There was no arrogance. I'm thinking,
They're keeping a lid on it because they know they're going to win the flag this year.
yeah.
They're going to win the flag, man.
And then they can really get obnoxious. You know, that's what they're waiting for.
100%. And what it is as well, I think, is that although they've been winning a lot of games and obviously been exciting to watch, they don't often just pump teams, like put the foot down, win by 50, 60, 70 points. They might do it this week against North, but I think maybe
Might is an understatement.
might. You never know, George.
Come
Oh.
on, man. This team's exceptional.
Interestingly enough, you guys are versing the team that we versed, and we're versing the team that you versed.
There you go.
So because
Something in that.
Yeah, there's something in that.
I don't know
Something
what.
in
I
that.
don't know what, but there's something.
Yeah, but I'm just, you know what it is? It'll really show the comparison between our two clubs. Because what if you guys lose to Sydney
That's
and
true.
we get really close to Collingwood?
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Well, we almost beat Collingwood last year. Not that I'm expecting that to repeat, but they needed to pull that one out of the hat last year against us. We did pretty well.
Was that at the start of the year though?
No, about the middle of the year.
Yeah, it was when Collingwood started playing bad and then they went crazy. But still,
Yeah.
we'll take it.
What was I saying? Yeah, so the Collingwood fans, I think maybe because they're a lot of the time behind in the game and catching up, there's a confidence, of course, and there's a like sort of pride they're taking in their team, but the arrogance is just on hold for now. So I guess fair play.
But that Collingwood.
Yeah, you have to do it, though.
That thing, like when you hear that, it's actually you kind of just want to run away. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
It's
no,
like a
I don't like
horror
it.
story, like a thriller,
Yeah, but
nightmare scene.
if I'm to speak honestly about this Carlton game, it's actually a tragedy. Like we can joke about it all we want, but this team sucks, man. Like they're not average. They're not Adelaide that's rebuilding that can't win, that win it at home but can't win away. These guys are terrible,
Yeah.
and they've got so much talent, and it's so wasted. It's unbelievable. I was watching Walsh closer today because I had him as captain in Supercoach. I always watch the players closely, but you watch them as a team. You don't isolate single player. Walsh is the most wasted talent I've seen in the league at the moment.
Wow.
He is an exceptional footballer, and he is just let down he's burnt by his teammates 24/7. The amount of times he leads doesn't get honoured. The ball goes to him, they handball to him, but they put him massively under pressure. He has to do some aerobic backflip to get out of the tackle. Like, it's just like, this guy's a superstar. Like, if you put Walsh in Collingwood right now, they will never lose a game. He'll be Brownlow medalist. He's exceptional, but he's just so wasted under just a team that can't kick, can't do anything. That like basic skill errors all game. They've got Charlie Curnow is like, there's a lot of players in the competition that are overrated. This guy's not overrated. Every compliment you give Charlie Curnow, he's earned. He's exceptional. He's unbelievable footballer, right? And he's leading the Coleman with 4 defenders on him 24/7. Like, if Charlie Curnow was in a team that could kick, I'd be so scared of what he could produce. They're not getting any value out of their talent. And this is how you know. Charlie Ballard, Gold Coast, right? Equaled the record intercept marks last week against West Coast. The reason he did that is because West Coast can't kick and just kicked it directly to him.
Yeah,
you know who broke the record for intercept marks today?
Darcy Moore did.
What does that tell you about Carlton's kicking, mate? It's worse than West Coast.
Darcy Moore is a good player, but
He's
still,
a great
it should,
player,
it
but
should
what
not
I'm-
happen.
He
It
broke the
shouldn't
record. He's done it more than anyone ever.
happen. He's done it more.
He's done it more.
sorry. I'll show myself out. See you
He's done
guys.
it more.
Nice. Had to be done.
that
Thank
was
you for
good.
listening to AFL Enjoyers.
I'll tell you what, speaking of Carlton's skills or lack thereof, I had a friend of mine, also a Carlton fan, saying, obviously you look at Carlton's list and you say, man, there's a lot of good players. We know this. You mentioned Curnow, Wiedering's there, Mackay, despite not being in the best form, good player, Walsh, Cripper. But then he went on to say, the problem with the team, like you're saying, George, is the skills. And he said, honestly, he can probably count on one hand the amount of players on that team that can actually use the ball well.
Let's try it. So Walsh,
You go ahead, being the Carlton fans.
Walsh, Sard, Newman.
They can use the ball.
They can use the ball.
Kerner can use the ball.
Kerno.
Yep. Let's be honest. Cripper inside,
No,
of
no.
course he can, but
Yeah,
he's
on the
not. He's not
outside.
hitting targets.
I'm trying to be really honest, right? With what
So who have you named so far? Sorry, it was what?
Walsh, Newman, Sard, and
Doherty's hardly there anymore.
No,
at
I
this
wouldn't-
point.
I
He's
wouldn't-
not. He hasn't been clean at all
and
recently.
Kerner, we said.
yeah, Charlie Kerno is an amazing field kick.
Guys, like I'm just
Like
thinking.
I'd say McGovern, he can, but he's also a bit of a potato. I don't know why.
He's just that penetrating kick where he just smacks it. You know what I mean?
Sometimes it comes off unbelievably, and then sometimes it doesn't.
And that's the problem. You're struggling as someone who watches Carlton, knows these players very well. Be honest.
There
and
are
say,
some okay kicks, right? But I'm talking exceptional.
We're talking consistency. Here.
Collingwood today can't us apart when they like see a player, right, and they got to kick it to him. It goes to him.
Yeah.
Can
You know what it is, George? Yeah,
Mate,
specifically,
yeah.
it's the inverse of what you're saying here. So you're trying to count on one hand the Carlton players, honestly, who are consistent good ball users. Try count the Collingwood players who aren't. You can maybe think, you'd maybe go Quainer, but he's pretty good.
No, Quinn is good.
He's good.
Probably like
Nathan Murphy.
Yeah, I'd say Nathan Murphy.
Who else? Everyone else is above average, if not elite. So that says it all from a team in top 4 versus a team struggling to get in the 8.
It's so deflating. Like Carlton fans are so like. Honestly, I would not have watched that game today after the first quarter if I didn't do a podcast. I've got to talk about it. I've got to watch it. Why would I waste my Sunday, man?
Well, you know what, George, as well. I'm starting to get worried because last year you started strong and it was more like, can we hang on to the 8? And then it was like, okay, we're always in that 8 picture. The way you're going, it's deflating. I don't think there's even any room for optimism. Like
There's none.
This team can make their, like you're saying, Geelong's thereabouts. Sydney if they hit form, Freo if they hit form. There's so many teams competitive in that block there. You might just be out of the picture altogether.
But how can a team that like
with that much talent,
that has done the rebuild, that's supposedly got the right coach for the job, a year later be in no man's land?
They haven't improved.
Like, but this is the thing that's destroyed Carlton's morale, is the fact that they're meant to be on the way up, and then they've kind of been found out. Now they have no system. The system doesn't make sense. The players don't know where to kick it. Like, they have bad skills, but I think most AFL footballers can hit a target when they kind of know what they're doing. So Carlton looks bad in my mind because they're always under pressure, because whatever their game style is doesn't. There's no connection. So if Walsh has got the ball, right, and Walsh is a good kick, but there's no clear options, he's got to take an extra step. He's under pressure now. Now the angle doesn't work. It goes out. That's not because he can't kick. It's because there's no one presenting. So there's just something that's not going right. And the fear is Voss can't. You can't get rid of him, man. You can't just keep doing. You just talked about North. You can't just keep replacing coaches.
I was just going to say, though, I mean, Matsa mentioned earlier, you're playing the Swans in Sydney this week, who aren't in great form, but got a win under their belt, little bit of pressure off, and they're still playing desperate footy, trying to make finals, just like you are. And then you've got, I'm just looking ahead the next few weeks to sort of project. Then you've got the D's at the G, and then you've got the Bombers at the G. So there's a world in which you're losing.
We could be bottom 6, man.
That's what I'm saying, man. Vossi's gone if that happens.
Yeah.
He's gone.
well, how can you keep him, man? Well, because you guys have committed. Like,
But
you
who's
gotta-
gonna solve what?
You got to nip it in the bud.
But who's going to solve
You know?
the issue? What is it? Is it Voss is that bad of a coach? Like, you bring in, you get rid of Voss. Who's available? Who's available?
Good question.
Get
Maybe-
Simpson from West Coast for some reason.
We didn't mention it earlier, but by the way, how is he still in the job? I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah.
I know it's not his fault that the list is injured and everything, but a fresh face wouldn't hurt. Let's be honest. That's bad.
But let's just say,
Anyway.
let's say he's a premiership coach. Let's say he needs a fresh start. Let's say he's a good coach and needs a fresh start, and he comes to Carlton. What's going to be the difference?
I don't
Another
know,
coach.
I don't know.
Carlton.
Hard to say.
I was listening to the fan cams on the Blue Broad Footy channel on the way here to get a gauge of what other supporters were thinking, right? And a couple of people mentioned the fact that there's a risk now of Carlton players becoming apathetic to the game. So if you're under so much stress, so much pressure, it's almost human nature to kind of block it out and like put up your wall in the way that it's like, all right, I'm just a player. I'm just doing my best. I'm just gonna go out and do it, and whatever the result is the result. Then they give up on becoming the team they want to become. They give up on those wins, and they just go through the motions. You're never gonna win like that. And then some supporters are like, all right, well, obviously this leadership group, the Cripps, Wiedering, Curnow, Mackay, whoever else you put, Ed Curnow, whoever else you want to put in there, These players have only known losing. And players that only know losing, these teams don't reinforce success. That's why a team like Geelong stays up there, like Joel Selwood, a champion of the game. We don't know what it actually is like to play with Joel Selwood, but we can assume that his leadership's top notch, his preparation's top notch, and he almost single-handedly or with a core group of players can continuously build a team up. Pendlebury is the same for Collingwood. That's why Collingwood's been good for the last 10, 15 years, because he's a champion of the game, and you can almost build a whole team off his leadership. Luke Hodge goes to Brisbane Lions, spends 2 years there. I'm sure that made a major difference to their build. It's almost like Carlton needs to pick up a premiership superstar that's at the end of his career, and I don't know who that is, right? That comes in and resets the culture. They sell some of their old, washed-up, dejected players and do a mini rebuild.
Has Cripper made a final?
No.
Matt, I'll tell you what.
That's sad.
That's scary to hear for two reasons. One, he's a Brownlow medalist. He's been in the league how many years now? 7, 8?
Or longer.
Yeah. And then you've got 2 Coleman medalists who, if things keep going like this, another year not making finals.
Mate, there's 2 All-Australian halfbacks. There's a Brownlow medalist.
And Coleman winners.
2 Coleman...
in their prime.
In their prime.
Wow.
And Walsh an All-Australian.
And to not even make... Yeah, that's bad.
And
man.
Wiedering could have been All-Australian multiple times.
That's bad. Even just scratching... And here's the funny thing. Like I said last week, making the 8 and getting bounced would still be incredibly disappointing. And that's not even looking likely now. Like, it's pretty bleak. Yeah, fair enough, man. I feel for you a bit.
They're the most disappointing team in the league by like an unbelievable stretch.
They are. Unfortunately. Well, if you didn't have anything else to mention, I did want to just say, of course, we're talking about Carlton naturally a bit more, but Collingwood, man, in that first quarter,
that was the only part of the game.
They just looked on another 10 levels than your players, man.
I was going to say, that's the only part of the game I was able to watch because I was on a plane. But yeah, the fact that the way they get the ball in the middle, and they look, short, passes, the kick into the 50, they lower the eyes, and then there's always someone just sprinting at the ball at like 100%, and it's a mark. That's just good forward line structure, confidence from the forwards that my mids are going to give me a good kick, so I can actually lead, and it's going to mean something. I'm not going to waste my energy. That's what it is, man.
But it's not like
it's fantastic.
There's one play, Pendlebury had the ball off the half forward line, and he just kicks it. And then Mason Cox just runs on and takes a mark. It's a perfect kick. You should remember that.
Kick. Yep.
But what if a team can kick the ball to their players, they're going to win games.
Yep. You heard it here first.
That's it, man. If a team kicks the ball to their players and then they kick a goal and they kick more goals, they win the game.
It's simple math, baby.
Nuts, man.
No way. I also really enjoyed that Bobby Hill run on the wing. He's just put the Jets on. Not quite Georgie's Jets, but close to it. He's run up the wing. He's then...
When we get to 200 subscribers, Bobby Hill, you better watch out for the race against...
man.
I forgot to mention that, actually. I'll say it now. 100 subs. George races Bo McCreary, so hit the sub button.
And McCreary was lightning today, so he's prime.
He's ready.
He's training. He's getting ready to go.
But yeah, Bobby Hill. So he runs up the wing, and then Carlton defender approaches him, sort of jumps, and then he just sells the candy, runs around him, and hits a lace-out kick, another brilliant kick into the 50, into the space. And these guys, man, they were on another level physically, obviously mentally as well. Like Carlton's got this bit of a loser mentality, really. Collingwood's just got this winning mentality. Even when the game got tough, instead of letting Carlton overrun them, they're keeping the third quarter to a goal each, for example.
Mate, side bottom is like pissing himself at the end of the game. You know what I mean? Like side bottom's just like laughing.
Yeah. Like
this is the rivalry. This is what that British girl came all the way for. To watch side bottom laugh at her.
That's right. Yeah, that's tough, man. They're
a very good team, the Pies. Bit worried about our game next week against them, but we'll get to that very shortly after we talk about the Saints, who had a very, very crucial win against the Giants, 2 goals in the end. I was with another friend last night at that Greek event, our boy Chris, friend of the pod.
Shout out to Chris, man.
Shout out to Chris. He was in agreement that this game here and the next couple of weeks is crucial for the Saints because they started well last year. We did mention that last week. And then they sort of fell off a little bit. I think the difference is this year, now they've dealt with the hardest part of the season, in my opinion, all their injuries and things. And now Steele's back. He's had a few weeks under his belt. King, He's back.
Yeah, they played well.
So I think if they do what they did today in the next few weeks, approaching the buys, notch a couple more wins, I think they can make finals.
Mate, Jack Sinclair,
Yeah.
the premier mullet of the competition. Sorry, Bailey Smith.
Oh wow.
He's the best. He's the best mulleted player in the league. I'm telling you,
he actually is a really good player. Like
a
a couple of years ago, I just thought this guy was just. To be honest, I thought it was just a random Jack,
small
Jack.
forward.
He's just another Jack.
Yeah, Jack small forward.
Another Jack. He's shit. Like
adding to the Jack Loney, the Jack. Whoever they had a few Jacks at St Kilda.
He was on
Jack
par
Stevens.
with. Yeah,
Actually, no, he was a good player. But you know what I mean? Yeah, add him to the Jack.
Just a random Jack. Like who are you? And why do the Saints supporters like you? But then last year he arrived on the scene. He's so good, man. Where did he come from?
I don't know, but it's
On that note, is he the most improved player in the league? Do you think?
I think so.
Over the last few years?
yes,
Mate, he's
for
a
sure.
gun, and he's precision by foot. He had like 700 meters gained, 800 meters gained. The next best was like 450. He had 2 goals as a midfielder, like 37 possessions.
Yeah, so 7 score involvements. I've just got his stats up right now. 26 kicks. Dude kicks the ball a lot, man, and
what efficiency? Probably 85% plus at least.
Yeah, 84% disposal efficiency.
Yeah, that's in midfield. That's not off the half back.
Yeah,
where there's
unbelievable.
That's under pressure.
Yeah, he had an incredible game, and there was even like just the little clutch plays that he has. Like there was one where at one stage, I actually got to see the last quarter of this game, which was good. But he's running towards the goal, and he creates this goal because he smashes. I don't know if he created a goal, but it was going towards. The way he tapped it forward. Richmond, like as you were saying earlier, where they just they put the ball into the right areas, put it to the advantage of their teammates. I'm like, that's just the foresight to think of that and to do that is just that's elite.
It might sound a bit funny, but he actually kind of reminds me a bit of Nick Dacos when he plays, and the reason is if you give Nick Dacos the ball, he'll always find a target, even if it's a little chip kick. Sinclair's the same. If he's running and you give him the ball, he'll find a target. I don't see him miss kick it like that. Yeah. So he's kind of just got. If you give Sinclair the ball, he'll do something well with it.
And that's why they want to get him on ball, isn't it? I know you mentioned for your super coach, you'd rather him play on halfback, but
160, I'll take that, mate.
Yeah, I think you do, mate. That was, it was very similar because like when was it Sicily 60, 134 the next week. What was it? Sinclair, 57 or something last week or 60?
I think it was a 60.
60, 160. It balances out and you're cool. You know what I mean?
Law of averages, as you say, Matsa.
The law of averages is, works well for Sinclair in these last 2 weeks.
There you go, man. So crucial win for the Saints. The Giants look once again another honourable loss, but
yeah, they're not going to lose any admirers with that one. But I've said that like 7 times for them this season.
We've got to stop saying that.
I know, it sounds so good.
Yeah, I guess. Look, it's a good thing that they're staying competitive in games. I mean, I'd love North to be competitive in most games.
But what is your expectations of Gold Coast? Of GWS?
Gold Coast.
What is your to become Gold Coast?
Yeah, that's it. It's just that they're gonna.
That's not something to admire.
Yeah, exactly. They're the same. It's just like we're expecting them to be good, but they're just.
That's what I'm saying. They should be a bit better, shouldn't they?
They should be way better.
Yeah.
Actually, I was gonna say Briggs had a good game, but he's gonna go back out next week probably.
Yeah.
He looked pretty decent, but like I don't know.
Someone else might want to pick him up. He's one of those ruckmen that could be a permanent ruck for someone else.
Yeah, there's teams with like no ruckman who could probably pick him up, but I don't know.
They've got good players. I think they should be in that mix of the A, but they're not. They're just not.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they develop. I guess post buys and how they finish the season is probably more important than what they're doing now. So if they can hit some form, maybe show some reason for hope next year. But this year, sort of,
it's another team where they're very likely to go their whole career, and some really special players never really become anything. Josh Kelly, Caniglio, just kind of wasted.
I'm going to say reword that. It's not that they're not going to become anything, but they won't play meaningful football. Yeah, I think it's more so because they're already gun footballers.
Yeah,
like Kelly and Caniglio.
But they don't care about them. But like they want their team to be successful. They want their games to mean something, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to just be sitting 10th their whole career.
Yeah, no, I agree. But like, just think the wording because you were saying anyway, it doesn't.
It's kind of crazy how they did make that grand final. All the talk about how great and deep their list is.
That was years ago, though.
I know, and they had to get rid of a lot of the players due to salary cap. So it is crazy, though, how they've kind of botched the following years. I mean, like I said, they had to get rid of a few, but to stay competitive...
We could write like a laundry list of players that have left that club. It's actually unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I just thought of it right now. They're possible top 2 talents on the team. They haven't even really developed yet at all. Like Callahan and Cadman,
Yeah.
they're probably that could be their top 2 players. They've still got to wait another 5 years for him. Maybe Callahan a bit sooner because he's a midfielder, winger. He gets a bit more bulk. He becomes an inside beast, right?
Yeah.
But Cadman, he needs another few years. He's not ready yet.
They got to just stop losing players, man.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Just stop losing them.
Well, I guess when you have all these players on the same rookie year needing contract extensions at similar times, it's hard to keep them all on the money they would want. So that's why they've all left.
You know what? I'm going to actually disagree with Georgie what you said there. Keep your players. I think they should go the opposite route. I reckon start just trying to get draft picks. Like Kelly and Cornelio, that's huge. They're 2 huge players that you can get a boatload of picks for. I think Team Tank.
Well, they've got lots of picks this year, and I've actually read something recently saying that they'd be keen to package them, and because is it them? It might be Gold Coast actually. They've got a few academy players. Anyway, we'll talk about that later in the year. But
Yeah, of course. Yeah, can't wait for that part of the year.
Yeah,
Talk
there's
about
2
trades.
strategies. I mean,
But that would be like that would be admitting that then I don't know why that would that's them admitting that they're not anywhere near it.
That's being humble. Sometimes you have to see your team. You have to look yourself in the mirror and say, "This is where I'm at. I'm not there yet."
well, if you're a bottom 4,
Like-
I think to Matt's point, if you're a bottom 4 team with those players, you might as well try and be a bit more aggressive with the rebuild.
That would be admitting they're rebuilding though. But I don't think that's what they have in their head. I know that they're low on the ladder, but do we see them as a
I don't
rebuilding
think-
team? I don't see them as a
For the
rebuilding
record,
team.
This might be a couple years down the line
Yeah.
because Kelly and Cornelia, they're still late 20s.
Yeah.
They've still got another 4 or 5 years in them.
Yeah.
Good years.
yeah. No, I certainly
And Green
wouldn't-
as well is also very young. So
But it's
that's another
interesting, like they
reason
lost
to-
someone like a Tanner Bruin, right? So
Yeah.
Tanner Bruin was a high draft pick that should right now be getting midfield minutes and developing in their team. He's at Geelong for some reason. Like that type of stuff, you're developing for a couple of years and then sending them off. You can't do that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Anyway, it'd be interesting to see how they go about the second half of the year in the draft and all that. But should we get on to tips?
You know what? Before we do tips,
Go
it's
ahead.
been a long pod, but it's been a while since I've had these. But I have a couple little gifts for you guys actually.
Oh, mate.
So yeah,
let's go.
I thought I'd.
Well, we actually didn't know this was happening.
What?
Generally.
Yeah,
Not at all,
these have been in my hoodies. So yeah, it's just
Oh, jeez.
I just honestly I just remembered it like 5 minutes ago. I'm like, oh well, they've been in my hoodie for like 2
Wow.
hours.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
They're even warm, man.
I know. Yeah, yeah, fair enough. But no, I just thought those in, just to hopefully bring
footy
up the
cards.
mood because we've had some tough times. As
Adam Saad,
yeah,
baby.
Adam Saad, and
Oh, damn. I got a Harry Sheasel Rising Star card.
that's
Wow.
it, man. That's it. That's a little cheeky number
Very
one
nice.
as well.
Oh, thank
But
you very much, Matsa.
No, good.
Thanks,
We'll put some photos up on the
Add 'em to the collection.
Yeah,
add it to the
100%.
collection that go in the middle. Yeah,
It's a numbered one as well.
yeah. So
Very
those
nice.
are those are
This
like
is a good get, man.
yeah. No, thank you. That one I actually got from a pack. So when I saw it, I'm like,
What's that, George?
that might have to go to.
Saadi, mate.
Hey.
Yeah. And the color, it kind of matches color wise. You know what I
Very
mean?
nice.
The darker colors.
Oh, Matsa's
To an
just
extent,
bearing
but
gifts. Good on
you,
him.
did,
Yeah.
you did pick the one of the 4 Carlton players that can kick. So
That's true. That's true. I packed the right ones. That felt good.
if you'd given me Plowman or something like that
he would have just
as a practical joke.
Lockie O'Brien.
biffed it. Like that's it.
Look, Lockie
Oh.
O'Brien actually can kick. Funnily enough,
Yeah,
He just
actually
can't,
true.
he
Add
can't
him
do
to the
anything
list.
else.
Add him to the list. But yeah, no, we'll
Thanks
put,
for that, man.
that's all good, man. We'll put some photos of that on the video so people can see what those cards
Thanks
actually
very
are.
much,
But yeah,
Matsa.
no, all good, man.
Love it. Very generous of you, avid card collector. So
Yeah,
I know it means a
that's-
lot to you to give out your cards as well.
Nah, man, no. It's part of the fun of collecting
man.
is sharing. So yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, look, let's with that more positive outlook now do our tips. Maybe we'll be a bit
Maybe
smarter.
Carlton might win next
Maybe
week.
Carlton's winning. I'll tell you what. Firstly, what's with all the Friday night games for Carlton, man? I'm kind of sick of it. Anyway,
They're not getting him next year, probably.
Friday night,
Yeah.
SCG.
Actually, no, they will. It's Carlton. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Look,
Anyway.
at least we bring the crowd, right? That's what they care about.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
true,
so.
true,
So
true.
Sydney's hosting you guys 12th v 11th, which is interesting to say out loud, given where the teams would prefer to be. But
I think Carlton.
I'm going to go Carlton too.
I agree, and let's be fair. Like a big part of it is that the 2 key forwards
Yeah.
are gonna feast on Francis.
That's my reason.
Yeah,
yeah.
like-
It's not for any other reason other than they don't have their backmen or their tools. Yeah.
And their midfield hasn't been that good either. We beat them, and you guys have a plethora of inside mids. That you have a quality mid as a sub every week, as like Kennedy and Hewitt. So yeah, no, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, let's go Carlton. Sydney didn't impress me enough. Okay, so St Kilda's hosting the Hawks on Saturday at Marvel. You would look.
Saints.
I'd love to say Hawthorn would ride that momentum, but I think being a young team, you can't bank on consistency. So it's probably a logical pick to go to the Saints. You would have
Yeah,
thought.
I'm gonna go a little bit early. on my NAW.
Oh, no of the week.
Yeah, it feels a bit. I don't know. It feels a bit weird, but I just think St Kilda are just they're much better side. I just didn't want to go North versus Collingwood, so I don't know.
Fair enough.
The other options are a bit weak.
What was your no of the week last week? I forgot.
I think. Wait,
It was Carlton Collingwood.
Oh, was it?
it's Carlton Collingwood.
It looked like it was right for once, mate.
Yeah, true. Actually, I actually forgot that. I don't know. I'm still in my head that I lost one a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, there we
Fair
go.
enough. So St
There you
Kilda.
That was pretty controversial. Now that I think, geez, that was bad.
Well, looking at
Sorry,
it now,
it-
it wasn't.
It was actually not true. It was actually very.
really
It
wasn't.
was very an astute pick.
So Saints this week. No
Yeah.
of the week.
Saints, mate.
Fair enough, man.
Shout out to Chris Michaels.
That's it, man. Okay, so the D's are hosting Freo at the G. I'm going to go a confident Melbourne on that.
Yeah, Nam.
Yep.
Yep.
And then the Cats are hosting the Giants at GMHBA. Giants aren't beating them in Geelong, especially there.
Nah. You know what? If it's going to be a week for GWS to win, it might be this one. But I don't. Geelong can't lose this many in a row.
3 in a row at GMHBA, the third one. Come on, no way.
There won't be one GWS fan there.
Yeah.
I don't
Fair
think
enough.
they're allowed to enter the stadium. So I
Probably
don't know, man. Think about it, it's Geelong. Like it's like they've got their own
yeah.
rules there, man. We don't know that. Like I think if they had guards that didn't allow GWS fans in there, I wouldn't put it past them.
Fair enough, especially now that they're renovating part of the stadium.
Yeah.
There's even
So,
less seats.
do not enter. Sorry.
Yeah, no way.
There were no Adelaide fans a couple of weeks ago, so
Fair enough. So the Cats are, I think the firm favourites on that one. We'll go for them. Suns are hosting the Dogs in Gold Coast. Bit of a humid, dewy football. Can
Dogs
they,
are
can
in
they
pretty
do it?
good form.
Dog, yeah.
I'd be interested to know when Miller is back and these type of players.
He's back. He's back like way after the bye. Like we're
Yeah.
talking. I think the aim for him is like around 18. Like
Look,
it's ages away.
I'd like to see Gold Coast win, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, the Dogs have a bit too much power around the ground, don't they?
Yep.
Fair enough. Eagles are hosting the Bombers.
You can't tip the Eagles.
Perth.
Yep,
Just move on.
done. Yeah,
Bombers. Tigers are hosting Port at the G.
Port.
I would love to say the Tigers would win, obviously for my own reasons. Again, I'll say it every week.
Port
But-
doesn't even matter anymore. Honestly, I think we just dropped the pick talk with Port. As much as I love talking about it, I think we just don't need to anymore.
Yeah,
Look,
well,
you know
it's
what?
cool.
Until they start losing, I won't bring it up. How about
Done.
that? Alright,
Nah,
cool.
because we've gone on about it enough. The people are probably sick
Fair
of
enough.
it. So
Fair enough. Yeah, Port's going to win.
And I hope it rains so that Butters can get another 180 super question.
yeah,
enough,
that would be beautiful.
Okay, so Collingwood is hosting the Roos at Marvel, which
Being
maybe
that's at
that'll
Marvel.
slightly help us. Let it slot at the G. I don't know.
I got a feeling that no, it's Collingwood are going to win.
Mats has gone Collingwood, George
Yeah.
gone Collingwood. I'll tell you what, boys. I was at the game, as I said. Last year, we gave them a bit of a run. They had to come from behind in the last quarter. I don't know.
Man. Hey.
I'll go to Pies. But I would love to be in the game at halftime. That's sort of my barometer of this game.
I'd love you guys to win, but we don't always get what we want, do we?
No,
Very rarely, George.
I know, I was
actually.
going to say, coming from a Carlton fan would know.
Almost exclusively don't get what I want, actually. Okay, and the last game of the round, we did mention this earlier. The Crows hosting the Lions at Adelaide Oval. What do you think?
That's a tough game to pick, but I'm going to go with Brizzy away from home. They're just such a good side, you know. And Laird is going to have a tough game if Dawson doesn't step up, if Rochelle doesn't step up. They're just going to have a really tough time against that Brisbane midfield.
I think it'll be close, but I'm going to go Brisbane.
You know what? I'll back in the Crows at home. I think there's something in that.
Okay.
I think it's not as clear cut as it would be if it was, the Gabba or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think Brisbane have shown a bit of a maturity this year, and they're a bit of a sleeping giant. I think this team. It's easy to say Collingwood's the favourite for the flag, but Brisbane does look more mature this year. They had that one game against Port where they got slaughtered. Apart from that, they haven't really put a foot wrong. So
Yeah. It was that other disappointing game against the Dogs, wasn't it? And since then,
yeah,
they've been very solid. Fair enough. Okay. We'll see how we go. It's pretty much everything.
we're
I
going to
had to
shout
say
out
this week.
Montaki, Alex Montaki. Thank you for your support on the pod. He wanted to shout out yesterday.
Fair
so
enough. Shout out.
Shout out Muntaki.
That's it. If you guys have any questions as well, we'll probably next week maybe do an Instagram post where we'll ask for some questions again. I think that was pretty fun to do the other week, so maybe we'll do it again.
And Dean wasn't here for it.
I wasn't here for it.
It was
So
myself and George. So we've got to give Dino the opportunity to answer some of the
I missed out.
highly anticipated questions. So
Ask me about umpiring on North Melbourne. Let's go.
Hey,
Let's have a chat.
Don't do it. Please don't.
Fair enough. Well, look, otherwise, I think, just hit like on the video, subscribe, like we said. 100 subs. This guy's going to race Bo McCreary, so tune in for that one. We got all the other socials on the screen as always, but thanks for watching. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you. Bye.